solar PV systems. I'll let Mike kick it off and turn it over.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Carrier, it's a pleasure to be here before the DPW. So tonight I'm here to talk about our solar projects. As you may have heard and seen, I know I've talked to Tom, we began the process, it's hard to believe, about 3 years ago. We had a power purchase agreement approved by the Commonwealth and the DOR. And we originally started with doing it on the photovoltaic field on the Cap landfill. From that, we've gone to and been approved by the schools to do carports and rooftop photovoltaics at the various school properties. We've also been approved to do carport at the senior center and a carport at the new police station, and hopefully we'll be able to do a carport at the new DPW facility. And including with the solar and the carports, there are also charging stations at all of those locations. And we're looking to add charging stations because, before I get into this, the other thing that we want to get into is we're moving to electric vehicles because they're better for the fragile environment that we live in. We have an electric vehicle now. The police have purchased a vehicle that's a combination electric and gas, and we're looking to purchase a couple of, we're on the waiting list. You can't even get electric pickup trucks. That's how long, it's a huge waiting list, so we're on that, so we're moving to that. But tonight I just want to quickly go through DPW solar related projects, location, scale, battery backup, and questions and answers. And I apologize for the date, but I had it set for the last time we were going to meet, we weren't able to, so I couldn't find my original. Okay, summary. As electric and gas prices have steadily increased and Marshfield plans for the future have been identified, several locations around town to install solar electric photovoltaic. This will allow us to be more energy resilient, tackle climate change head on, meeting the state's goal of 80% clean energy by 2035, and create a consistent source of revenue for the next 25 years. We can change the slide. DPW cost of electricity and natural gas, 2016, use 5,024,160 kilowatts, plus 43,995 BTUS, at a cost of $324,236. In 2019, we used 4,518,855 kilowatts plus 50,086 BTS, cost of 481,378. 67% cost increase in 4 years. Next slide, please. Financial summary, location, wastewater treatment plant. That would be able to, you'd be able to put, based on what the consultant said, about a 776 kilowatt facility, which would have annual revenue of $127,264. Sand pit off of Foster Street, 6,211 system-sized kilowatts for a revenue of $675,000. DPW at the new Plain Street location, a 404 size kilowatt system at 66,256 for a total size of kilowatt 7,391 annually at an annual revenue of $868,520. These are just sort of what the units look like. They're all state-of-the-art. They're all sealed containers. The one on the left is a roof-mounted ballast system. They both are actually roof-mounted. One's on reels and one's on ballast, depending on the type of roof. Next slide, please. Solar, electric, and parking lot and carports. A solar array canopy in a parking lot is called a solar carport. Each carport works within the parking lot layout and does not interfere with being able to park. Added benefit to a solar carport is that it provides shade and canopy against the weather. Parking under a solar canopy is better for your car. Snow plowing is easy with a solar carport because there is less to plow in and around. Each carport is built so cars, trucks, and others cannot just knock into them. Carport is also wind rated at 145 mile per hour winds. They are extremely well built. All operators and maintenance of the solar carport is the solar developer's responsibility. And these are some photos of carport with center posts and carport with outer posts. And, they're easy to get around, they're cemented into the ground. If you go by the police station, they ran the underground conduit already, and they put the anchor, not being a builder, the cement, I'd say sonotubes, Tom, but I don't think those are. Footings, thank you. Footings, so they have those in and all wired and ready to, they're waiting for the steel to come in to be able to do that. Also, the fairgrounds, as we begin this process, the fairgrounds is putting solar carports at the down in the back portion of the fair where they park, and years ago where they used to have the jockeys and the horses, so they're doing their own. Next slide, please. Wastewater treatment plant. This is just a little photo, talks about ground-mounted battery storage, and gives you a little snippet of what the anticipated revenue based on that size is. Next slide, please. Sand pit off of Forest Street. It's a ground-mounted ballast system, battery storage, and revenue. Next slide, please. DPW facility, rooftop and/or carport. I think we were doing carport there. Anticipated revenue about $66,256 per year.
That photo does not look correct.
It's an older
It's an older.
site drawing.
Yeah, that's,
So definitely not the latest.
We don't look anything like that, and that was not the orientation presented to us back when.
Of
The
the
orientation of the carports was basically running the opposite of what they are now, 90 degrees from them.
Yeah, that's probably the first version. It's adjustable to, not a final design. We can.
Would have to be, because that wouldn't work for us at all.
No. And we'd have to come back and we put that on hold in our conversations with Tom and stuff until after, just because with all the trailers down there and the construction going on, it just wouldn't be.
I mean, that's
Pretty
because
tight
we
down
added
now.
the additional phase for the garage area there, I think.
no, I don't think so. That's
The orientation and the closeness to 139, that looks like we're behind, that's actually looks like the car dealership.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I see the car dealership out front, yeah,
Yeah.
so it's, yeah. That's an older picture.
There's an
Very much older, yeah. Okay.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay, no cost agreement. The agreement is a power purchase agreement in which the developer assumes all the financial risk. Experience, the solar developer, which is no fossil fuel and NextGrid, has experience working in Marshfield and Massachusetts for over 20 years. Construction process, the solar developer is responsible for the design, engineering, utility impact study, permitting, construction, and maintenance. Roof replacement, if a roof needs to be replaced, it's the solar developer's responsibility to remove the system while the roof is being replaced, and then they, put everything back. Battery storage is UL compliant and meets all safety regulations. Maintenance, the solar developer assumes all responsibility for maintenance of the system and site. Any damage to the property due to the solar array is the solar developer's responsibility to fix. All systems are monitored live online for everyone to see. The thing about the roof replacement I wanted to point out, one of the things that was very advantageous for the schools is the Martinson roof is the next major roof that needs to be replaced, probably somewhere between $4 and $5.5 million. And no fossil fuel NextGrid, because they're going to be putting photovoltaics on the roof of that building, is going to replace the roof and do structural upgrades that are needed, whether you had the solar put up there or not, just because of the age of the building and the pounds per square inch requirement. And they're gonna do that, and at no cost to the ratepayers, to us, and how they do that is they just give us less money over the 20 years, but we don't have to go out to bid and put it on the tax rate through capital finance. Next slide. Additional items addressed. Leaching and leaking. Leaching of older solar panel caused by a thin film solar technology. The solar panel spec do not use that technology. Those were technology panels which are not used in today's solar world. Modern solar panels are made of solid-state, non-toxic materials, insoluble, and are enclosed in monocrystalline PERC, silicone, and sand, and are fully recycled at the end of their use. Solar and water resource areas. Because today's solar panels do not leach, it is commonplace to situate solar and water reserve aquifers, lakes, and ponds. Mass DEP states solar project can be appropriately sited within zone if listed conditions are met. Allowance for solar within zone 1 is consistent with other allowable uses related to water supply protection. It says, my eyes, I can actually, Mass DEP solar and wind energy projects proposed in zone 1 dated September 1st, 2011, and updated April 18, 2018. Next slide. Examples of solar and water reserve aquifers. Closest to us is the Bourne Water District approved a solar PV system on their water district land.
As well as Brewster.
In Brewster. Okay. Excellent. I think that's it. That's the last one. And we're happy to answer questions.
Can I see the one on Forest Street again, please? That's gonna be the whole solar field?
The whole,
Yeah, I don't know if that's the
That's
whole.
gonna be the whole solar field?
Yeah, it might be. I don't know, it's 6,211 kWh.
Okay, what are gonna be the size of the batteries that are gonna contain the solar? How big are the containment units for the batteries gonna be?
The battery won't be stored in that area, it'll be stored somewhere that not on the aquifer.
Okay, so
How are you planning to make your interconnection?
We'll talk to the developer about that. This is just early design.
Okay,
I mean,
whether you're aware of it or not.
that's taken away from a lot of those trees that have built in over the years. It's taken away a lot of filtration
Yeah.
that actually filter the water for that pump station that's probably just to the right of that solar field.
The trees,
Yeah,
no trees will be taken down. In the middle are just shrubs. And,
and trees.
There are full-grown trees.
There are full-grown trees in there.
okay, well, we'll look at that as well. Yep.
Okay, yeah, the comment I'll make is that this board made a previous position of not wanting to move the solar panel in, mainly not concerned about the physical panels themselves and their issues. Our policy for water protection has been exclusion, and it's been exclusion for as long as I have been associated with, you know, the town, which goes back to 2005. The concern is, you open this area up, there's going to be traffic associated with the maintenance and the other ongoing activities of the solar panel, okay? And that introduces the risk to the aquifer. You know, and the savings that you're looking at electrically, you know, treatment of the four of the most productive wells in Marshfield can chew up several $1 million in a hurry. All right, so that's one of my concerns. You know, is that you're there with that, you know, I don't know how you're gonna bring the power out without taking down trees, except with the one right-of-way that we have at Furnace Brook number 2, that comes in. And that's the only open right-of-way, and that is, you know. The second thing is that everything on the 3A side, anywhere near you, is at 4,100 volts. It is not at the 25 kV street distribution that is on Forest Street. And if you're going for Forest Street, you're going to have to take some trees down. You're going to have to clear right away, because there is no open access there.
Yeah.
And again, you know, my position is, I'm for exclusion. I don't want to cut it out. I did suggest an alternative site, and I never had any feedback on it, which would be up
Too many
off
trees would have to come down that site, Mr. Carrier. Too many trees would have to come down.
Well, there's a whole bunch of new growth trees that were never there until we purchased the property, and then the pine trees seeded themselves
Yeah.
in. But they're not mature trees. You know, most of them are someplace less than 10 feet.
Right.
I recognize everybody likes a nice open sand pit, but it is, you know, and we have some other existing concurrent concerns right now with the aquifer, as you and I have discussed. So, you know, you're not going to get my yay on this one. And we are the water commissioners.
No, absolutely.
Okay. I'll let Tom have his piece.
I just, you know, I know from previous experience with solar panels, that the leaching was a very big concern. And now that, I mean, they've come a long way with the panels themselves, and I know personally, trying to permit solar panels on a pond, DEP wouldn't even talk to us. But that was prior to the new
Solid
panels.
state.
I guess-
The solid state panels, so I'd like to hear more from DEP, you know, and what their take is. And I hear what my board is saying also, but I'd like, if there's any white papers from DEP that, you know, might help us going forward with this, I
Sure.
think would be important.
I would want to see, if we ever go forward with it, okay? I would definitely, in that area, I would definitely want to see what the liability
Yep.
is on
Right.
the companies that own those panels for any contamination that occurs, whether it's by them or their subcontractors, or even some tourist that wants to walk in and look at the photovoltaic panels. You know, protecting the water, you know, was a task that I got assigned as soon as I went to work for the town of Marshfield in May of 2005. As our water supervisor can attest, because he and I worked together on the pump stations a number of times, and trying to protect the aquifer is job one for us, as it should be. And if you look around at the neighbors, we're doing pretty well compared to those that abut us. Secondly, looking at the planned laydown for the wastewater treatment plant, I know that if we ever have to do any expansion in the wastewater treatment plant itself, you're taking and sucking up a large chunk of the footprint. And you know, that would have to be recognized is that, you know, a new, shiny new treatment plant someplace else as a satellite is going to be a significant cost versus whatever gain we're getting from a few PVs.
Or we could take them down at some point. We could have that in the agreement that if you had to expand, you can take those
I
down.
mean, it's not a current issue because of the good work that Tom and wastewater and the engineering
Yep.
staff have done in taking care of the infiltration and in-leakage issues we've had over many years. But that is one of my concerns right there, is that, you know, that is, you know, the spot.
Yep.
To Paul's question, it's 200 feet for any type of battery storage from within the zone 1. I mean,
Yeah, wouldn't be able to be there because batteries are dangerous.
right.
So there's a couple
Well,
things
I
to.
mean, presuming your planned conversion, you know, would rectify us, you know, to create it to the inverters to get it to an AC from the DC, that is going to be as close as possible to your intertie.
Right,
Okay. And that would be the other provision here, is if we went forward, is you would have to have that intertie as far away from zone 1 and as far out of the edge of zone 2 as you can possibly make it. Okay, and that we would want to have input as to whether or not we felt that was a satisfactory spot, and whether there was a better spot, in which case relocate it there.
of course.
Okay. Um,
I don't have an issue with that. That would be very understandable.
The second thing would be, no,
Just trying to answer a couple of your other comments about operation and maintenance.
Yep.
At the sand pit.
Mhm.
It's basically a guy, if he has to mow the lawn once a month or once every other couple months or a quarter, that would be really the only maintenance. Maybe a couple times a year there would be operational maintenance, but you'd actually see less activity around the sand pit because it's also fenced in.
there was, if I
And
recall
so you-
correctly,
you
a
can't-
conservation, excuse me, just a conservation restriction on that land which allowed passive recreation, which means you're going to have to eliminate that.
You'd still be able to go around the
Well,
photovoltaic like the track.
Today, right now,
Yeah.
people are, you know, running right straight up the middle with their, you know, walking their dogs or whatever else.
Sure,
You know, the other issue would be if he's going to be doing any kind of physical maintenance.
yeah.
One of the issues we have had in the past was a thing called MTBE, methyl tributyl-ethylene, if I recall correctly, and that actually contaminated one of the well sites, and back in circa 2007-8 timeframe, we actually received an award for a class
We did
action
get
suit
money.
on that.
We actually got money. I was a
Yes, I know.
selectman with the
I
money
gave you
to
some.
clean the wells,
If
yeah.
I had it to over, I kept it on.
And we did put Anton's too.
Yeah, so I mean, the bottom line is, those are concerns that we had.
Well,
you know.
what did the MTBE cost from?
Huh?
What's it cost?
Gasoline.
So gasoline.
It was a gasoline oxygenation additive that was put in usually in the wintertime
Yeah.
to boost, you know, the combustibility of the gasoline. Today, they use basically, you know, bring alcohol. But the bottom line comes down that, you know, if we don't have to have any petroleum products into that area beyond what we need physically to take care of something,
Yeah.
that's what we'd like to have.
Do we put a restriction that there'd be no trucks driving in and that have to?
Well, not only that, but all of your, basically, your clearing equipment. You know, you don't want to go in with a gasoline weed whacker, you want to go in with a battery on it.
Battery, yep, which
Sure.
would make sense.
No problem.
Actually, you could give them a DC takeoff on one of the panels.
There you go. There you go.
But again, you know, my position still is exclusion is the best method, and I will not shift from that. That takes care of things, but what is the status of the photovoltaic cap? Because we have completed all of the maintenance work up there.
The biggest holdup right now is we're waiting for Eversource for the, they have to do
Interconnection.
work on, not interconnection on Clay Pit Road because they have the equipment necessary. It's at the two sub-power stations. They have to upgrade Webster Street, so that's what the holdup is there.
And there's a study happening, starting this fall, that won't end until next year.
ISO,
Okay,
is that
but
what that
you're-
is?
Is that the substation across from the golf course that
Yes.
has to be
Yes, sir.
upgraded?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, that is the 135 kV, 115 kV rather, sub to 25 kV sub that goes out of there. The other issue would be the 25 kV line on our, I don't know if Eversource has discussed it with you or not, but the 25 kV line that is actually feeding Plain Street is actually fed out of the Duxbury substation on the 25 kV line that runs parallel, except in circumstances where they switch because of loading and other issues.
Right.
Okay, and if they haven't made an inquiry into that, because the Duxbury substation, it's, last time I was around there, it's dated now, 2020, but the bottom line is both of those were basically at the same kilovolt ampere rating on the transformers, so.
They haven't sent in that design yet because we're waiting for you all to sign off on it.
You want to ask them to ask Doug Geist.
Okay.
Doug knows the system better than anybody else kicking around.
We've had 2 approved so far of the multiple sites.
Yes.
Waiting on the others.
So the wastewater, I know we've had a few discussions about what you were thinking about down there, but.
This one here?
Right.
Yeah.
And I know there was talk about maybe doing something over the clarifiers.
The 2 circular things?
Right.
Okay, just to, yep. Yeah, I kind of nixed that, it's just from a structural standpoint, and then I heard there might have been expansion in the future, and also to get those trucks underneath, so.
Well, behind them, to the right,
Yeah,
is for future expansion for clarifiers there. So that it was designed to have 2 more clarifiers.
yeah,
So, but right now, I know the project should be starting within the next week or so, or 2 weeks, is the launder covers that we're gonna put on these 2 clarifiers right now.
gotcha,
So that's,
yeah.
but,
Well, like Mike said, we can certainly remove, those few rows wherever you put them to reduce it a little bit if needed, yeah.
right, I mean, you'd probably need about the same footprint that you see there.
Yeah,
Whether it was
Yeah.
going horizontally,
sure, yeah,
longitudinally, one way, but,
yeah, that's not a problem.
okay.
Now,
And then also, the building up further, as you enter into the property,
Mm-hmm,
we have our UV unit is the first unit you come to, the cement wall around it with the crane. We're looking at putting a roof over that. So that's a possibility of maybe a couple of other panels that may,
a roof on the building?
we're gonna put a roof over the UV unit just
Oh,
to
okay,
close
yeah.
it in.
How big is it?
It's,
This is the UV unit right here.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Oh, I see,
So it's probably about 40 feet wide and
Mm-hmm.
maybe about 60 or 70 feet long.
Okay, okay,
So the ability to put panels on that roof
yeah,
is there also.
okay. Okay, interesting. When are you planning to do that roof?
Well, I've actually have a warrant article in for 3 weeks from now,
Special town meeting.
a special town meeting, so I'm hopefully I have
We'll know
that.
on the 18th.
Yep, hopefully I'll have that constructed by the end of next summer.
Because I'm kind of wondering if we sort of put it into the envelope of solar, that would there be any outlay of cash needed for that?
Oh, they could do the roof.
You
like
could
they
put
do
it
at
up
the
for
school.
us with the,
Yeah.
Because you're incorporating it with the solar project, any roof repair or replacement is incorporated with the project.
That's how we're doing the Martin Center.
it will save me my procurement on that anyways.
It was huge. It was
Do you have plans you could send me? I can run it by the developer.
I do have some plans, I definitely can send them off to you.
Might save a few bucks.
Sure, no, hey, I'm up for that.
Yep. We should make it.
Any dollar savings I can make,
Right.
I'm on board.
And I'm glad Rodney's still here. Have we ever looked at additional arrays on our standpipes?
Standpipes, I'm sorry, what's the
The
standpipe?
water tanks.
Water tanks.
The water tanks. Okay.
There, I know there was, I don't know if it was you and I that had the conversation, but there was a company that was out there looking to put panels on water towers.
Oh, yeah.
I know Bill Botigi and I, maybe it was Bill that I spoke to about it, but I know they were looking and then for some reason they.
That's a great idea.
Because I mean, my memory is both the Carolina Hill tank and Pudding Hill structurally can probably take the load without too much issue.
But these were very limited weight, very low
Yeah,
weight,
film
very
setups, yep.
thin
But I'm just saying,
panels.
I know that they can take the additional structural load because of it was built into the design, as I recall, but I'm looking at you to see if you recall that or not.
No, I don't recall. I mean, they could add structure to the
Right,
top.
yes. Yeah, I mean, basically, the footprints of both of those, even if you needed it, you can run vertical support structure up to take and hold the load. Yeah, we do have current contracts on Pudding Hill, but I don't think there's anything
I
on
mean,
Carolina Hill.
I would
for
prefer
the,
to have it around the tank, you
Yeah.
know, instead of rather than on the tank.
Right.
We have a lot of problems with just the antennas and the cabling and
Yeah.
getting access to paint. Maintenance is always an issue when we have different structure on the tank itself. That's an
And
issue.
since it sticks up in the air already, we can just stick a wind turbine on top.
Yeah,
One issue down here is flooding. At one
Yeah.
point,
That is a concern.
FEMA had us in a flood zone, and we managed to get out of it with, you know, some modeling or whatever our consultants did.
I mean, the PVs themselves are gonna be elevated sufficiently that you're probably above the flood level.
Right.
Number one. Number two, the big concern then becomes cabling, because you know, salt water and power cable doesn't go together very well, and over time, wherever the splices are,
Except for the
Then
transatlantic
he- huh?
cable. Except for the transatlantic cable.
well, the transatlantic cable is communication. Much lower voltage, much heavier jacketed because of the depths and the roll-offs. I actually had a brief stint on board the long lines, believe it or not, UT&T.
Another issue I wanted is that the wetland line.
Yeah.
We were able to put that temporary structure, if you want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah,
And I think we had some relief from conservation
Right.
in order to do that, because the wetland line is,
Well, I can't tell you, Mike-
you're constructing within the buffer zone, you're probably within 25 feet of the wetland line right there.
If you want to know what electrical power cable behaves like, ask Eversource how they're doing with the Vineyard cables. They were running on the generators out there again,
Right, yeah.
and they failed. And one of the problems you have often with your cable supplier, when there's cable faults because of water intrusion, you're stuck with the same damn cable vendor,
Yeah.
by guarantee. I do not recommend underground in a flood zone in any way, shape, or form.
But one of the things I talked to Tom about, Tom and I have had a couple of conversations, and that's about, you know, we gotta start thinking about, like, we're looking, do we put a seawall around there? What we'll need to do to protect it as we move forward, best to start planning now.
Well, there is One place I have seen actually a flood barrier mechanical work efficiently was the old Cherry Street station at Hudson. And basically, they had flooding issues with the Assabet River for many years. And basically, they built basically a barrier wall around the entire outside. And wherever there was an access point, they basically put in steel doors that closed against a gasket and sealed up. And I witnessed it stand up to 1 2-foot flood.
I mean, they've got down in Bedford where they closed the harbor right
Yeah.
up in a
Yeah,
storm.
yeah,
So
the
that's-
hurricane gate's been working for many,
Yeah.
many years.
So I know Rod has been a proponent of that dike.
Well, I mean, back before the flood, flood elevation was changed, we were like, okay, we're gonna have to do something here. I think we still probably ought to have that on our, in our master planning to do some sort of a barricade, at least
Yeah.
get it up to the road elevation. There is a berm, you can see it right in
Yeah.
the picture, there is a
Right.
berm there, and we would have to just, we'd have to make it,
Raise it up.
engineered so it meets Army Corps type,
You gotta have the pitch on the sides for the slope
yeah,
on the top.
they now, we were gonna put either steel or vinyl sheet pile, and now they also recommend not just a vertical wall with earthen berm on either side of it to support it. They make you put lateral support in as well now, the core, I'm not sure of the detail, but, so it's a little bit more complicated and probably a little bit more costly now to be able to,
Of course, the Army Corps got involved, so of
Yeah.
course the price.
yeah,
goes
it's
up.
all about Katrina when those levees, some of the levees went and stuff.
And I have, again, with the location of the batteries is still primarily lithium based. Okay. And I mean, their purpose is mainly to smooth variations in the output.
For them, it's gonna be used to send back to the grid during peak power.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. But basically, they also, if you have a variation, don't they smooth the output until the controls compensate?
I'm not sure, I could ask.
I always thought, when I was observing them, they were, since they're on the DC, they're on the DC side of it, if there's a sudden dip, they're gonna feed, because voltage seeks a lower place to go every time. That chews up most of my questions. Do you have anything else, Paul?
I don't have anything.
Rod?
We have that dredge spoils next door.
I'm sorry?
I said, we have the dredge spoils next door, we had a parking lot proposed. but-
I wanted to stay away from that topic.
Gee, why?
That's what.
Ye of
we
fate
look-
are.
Nice spot for one, nice parking lot there, and there's acres of filled lands.
Yeah,
Going back to 1934.
that's right.
That's when they first put the first load, actually it was declared as reclamation back then.
Reclamation was the dredging.
Basically,
Yeah.
what reclamation was to reclaim land.
For an airport, right? I think that's.
Well, it was purchased for the improvements of Green Harbor and for aviation use.
Right.
That was the intended purchase. I have researched town meeting, the town warrants and from 1931 up until 2005.
Well,
I figured, I was back attending regularly in 2005, so I didn't need to research for that.
Well, thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
sorry for the,
Nope,
not having the quorum,
no,
but
that's okay.
at least
We'll
We
continue.
didn't have notice until late.
No,
Mr. Carrier,
no problem.
Yes,
Can I ask you just the Cliff Notes version of what the contract was you were going to amend? Does that involve the Ocean Bluff FEMA thing or what?
has nothing to do, it's just, it's an administrative, part of the contract, it's not gonna delay anything.
No, I didn't, I just kind of wanted to know what,
What it is, it's authorization for design and permitting of Ocean Bluff. And we do that with the existing contract, we'd amend it with the consultants that we have right now. So
Okay.
we'll amend their existing contract, add the work, and proceed with the work for both votes.
okay, thank you so much.
That was a nice meeting, last Saturday that
It
you
was,
put
yeah,
on.
very nice.
Yeah, no, I appreciate both of you coming in. Mr. Kilcoyne came as well, which
Yes.
was nice to introduce him to the topic.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.